Hello and welcome to another episode of Pull Up 3. I am Paragon Don,
I'm Janae.
And I'm Jay Trent.
and today we are going to be doing our season review on the Seattle Storm. Um, First off, I guess we can get into what worked for them and what didn't. Um, for me, obviously, it took them a really long time. It seemed like it took a long time for things to gel there. When you get to all-star Hall of Fame, all WNBA caliber players in Skylar and NECA to join a team, you're always gonna have to adjust. Like it's very rare we see teams come together and win their first year. Or big pieces like that come to the team and win their first year. So it wasn't really a surprise that they struggled. It just seemed like they never really found their footing completely. Um, which also ended up, oddly enough, uh, questioning Noel's Quinn's coaching ability, which I don't never really considered any of that her fault or not. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But Skylar, it took a really it not a really long time, but it probably took like a quarter to halfway in the season for her to really adjust back, and understandably so, because she didn't get to play last year. Um, so NECA was carrying that team really hard for a little minute. And then if I'm not mistaken, she got injured, and then was like kind of in and out for a minute. Uh, so it just seemed like it took a little bit for them to gel, or longer than I would have expected. Um, my preseason rankings, I thought they'd be like a top three, top two team in the league, and they ended up being fifth, which is not a bad place to be by any means, because the league is tough. But yeah, it just took a really long time for them to gel. But NECA looked really good all year. Sky looked really good towards the end. Uh, Ezzy looked like she was all W at one point. Um, yeah, Jewel was really the only one that kind of shocked me as far as her play. It seemed like she just never lived up to or played up to the standards that she has set for herself throughout her career.
I think it was kind of a down year for the Seattle offense as a whole too. Because I'm looking now, Seattle was seventh in offense and fourth in defense, which I think the eye test holds up with that too. Because defensively, they were they had some of the strongest defensive personnel in the league, especially once
Debbie
actually even
Williams joined.
before yeah, I was gonna say once she joined, but really before she joined, because Jordan Horston was much improved on that end also. And you got defensive personnel. Jewel Lloyd is a pretty solid defender. Skylar Diggins Smith played, all defense level. NECA and Ezzy are all defense level. I think if the Storm defense hadn't taken a slight dip toward the end of the season, Ezzy would have had a legitimate shot at Defensive Player of the Year. Matter of fact, when we did when we did our midseason awards, I think I had Izzy as my depoy pick. I think she played that well on that end for majority of the season. So what didn't work, it felt like they were having trouble finding their shots. Like it was clear that they have the offensive talent. Like you got players that can score, but if it was kind of a down year for Julia as a scorer. She wasn't, comfortable getting her shots the way that we're used to seeing from her. So I think the the offense, at least as far as diversifying the offense in Seattle, it kind of goes as she goes. So with her not being at the level that we're used to seeing, that was kind of the story of the season for them.
I will say, so just looking at their like their season overview thing, apparently only Skylar and Sammy Wickham are the only two people who played every game this season. Um, and I feel like that says a lot, when your two most consistent players, one came off of pregnancy and the other one was Sammy Wickham. I don't really know what to say about her, but she's a nice girl. Um, if those are like your most consistent players, especially when you have a NECA, a Ezzy, a Jewel, and eventually a Gabby, like you would have, I feel like you would have a bit, there's some struggle there, right? Um, and I think the thing that maybe Seattle didn't really account for in the way um that they needed to is that Skylar is a Notre Dame guard, meaning um sometimes it takes them a while to get their shots off. They gotta shoot tour dates or and it's okay. We've accepted that about them. We still love them for it. Um and I don't think like so to me that meant that everybody else kind of has to be on more. And because Jewel has even over the last 2 years, like she's been very up and down. I think it was so much more noticeable that like their offense was bad, right? Like it was like they were clearly struggling. And two, I feel like there was almost a sense of like no hierarchy, you know. I feel like most teams have like this is your first person, this is option two, this is option three. And I feel like most of the time when I was watching them, they were just out there and they're like, okay, well, Skylar got the ball, so whoever she decided to pass to, like, need to figure something out. And it's like, that don't really work. Um, and maybe some of that is in part because Jewel wasn't better. And so that kind of took away some of it. Um, but I will say, like, I agree that NECA had a really good season, and I feel like she filled in the gaps really well. Um, I think Ezzy filled in the gaps really well too. I will say to some of their rotations, like, um, I feel like Mercedes Russell was solid. Um, but keeping Joyner Holmes and not really playing her. Um, Throwing Gabby Williams in the rotation, like it was great. Everybody wanted Gabby, but I feel like she kind of threw a wrench in the plans because she added to that hierarchy of confusion. Um, and again, like we saw her in France and she was going crazy, but we also have to like recognize that in France, she's a star. Like this is her team to carry, and I don't think um she doesn't have that mentality in America, which is like rightly so. Like in theory, you would say your hierarchy is Jewel, NECA, Skylar, Ezzy, and go from there. So she kind of maybe fifth on the totem pole, maybe third, maybe. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think they were just kind of like all over the place, and hopefully, like next season, it's something that they can like fix because they'll have more time spent together and like better um know each other. But also, I think the problem is more than anything is that like they kind of lacked effort, and I think what's the coach name?
No, Quinn.
Noel. Um, I feel like having a veteran team and having to say like, well, I can't coach effort or and I can't make them do things. I can't make them hustle. And that visibly happening on the floor. I think it's a little embarrassing. It's a little embarrassing. And so I really hope that they think about that next season and come in with a bit of a more revised spirit.
Honestly, I think what's more embarrassing than your coach saying it is one of your players saying it. And so um that's why I was saying like the fact that Noelle was on potentially on the hot seat for that. And if she had lost the locker room, or if it comes out that she lost the locker room, all right, that's one thing. But it never really seemed that way. It just seemed like they felt like they were talented and they didn't necessarily have to do as much, and they did have to do as much. Um, but with Skylar basically saying like, we not trying, and like if you not gonna try, you need to stay your ass home or go somewhere. Like a player saying that is kind of crazy. Uh, but yeah, I definitely agree with Jermaine talking about the hierarchy. Like it in a regular year, I think it would be Jewel, NECA, Skylar. But like Jewel averaged the most points. She averaged 19 points a game. And NECA averaged 17 and Skylar averaged 15. But Jewel shot 36% from the field. Like she shot 36% from the field and 27% from three. Like that's really nasty. That's really nasty. Um, and you just can't have your best player shooting like that and expecting positive results. Because even like, so if I go to Arike, like Arike is she doesn't shoot that much better from the field. Like there's years where she shot like 40, 41. Most recently she shot 38. From three, she shot anywhere between 34 and 37. So Arike doesn't shoot that well from the field either, but it's also like she takes a lot of threes. And at least if she's taking a lot, she's hitting them at a league average clip, if not higher. And she doesn't have as many people to give the ball to. Like Jewel is playing with two Hall of Fame players and shooting 20%, 7% from three. That's just not sustainable by any means. Um, so yeah, I on top really next season, I don't know how much really needs to change about their roster. Uh, maybe a wing,
You
but
know why they were
like
bad? Because they waived Dulcie. After that, their shit went down. That it went down. Y'all ripped that 2023 team apart, who held y'all down, and you haven't known peace since.
that's fair.
I think okay. So I was looking at this piece from from her hoop stats about the Storm, and they made the point that Jewel needs to take more shots as a spot up shooter with her feet set because this season she took a lot of moving shots, like in an attempt to like, and when you're off balance, those are lower percentage looks. So could the boost to their offense come from a tweak in the scheme? Like let's say you running off ball actions for Jewel and she's on the wing spotting up so she can get into her motion instead of trying to go off the dribble and take off balance shots.
So you want to put Jewel in the corner so she can shoot?
See, no, 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 no. Listen, I guess I'm thinking like
No, I
I'm
know
thinking
what you
like
meant. I was being funny. I know what you meant. But I honestly though, I kind of forgot that Jewel was also a Notre Dame guard, and maybe that's their problem. Y'all got too many motherfuckers who need to get their shit off.
And they
Um,
played together, funny enough.
yeah,
So
like they got too much going on. Um, but that is funny. I do think though that might help her a lot because she loves to take a complex shot, and it's like this is fun, for the highlight reels, but we need to win. Like we need to get the wins on the paper, and doing that all the time is just not effective. Um, Especially when you don't really have like you're not really crashing the boards. Like, I think Ezzy kind of did a good job of it this season, but I don't feel like that was like a big thing that they focused on. Like Ezzy was averaging two a game. So Ezzy and Nneka are the only two people who averaged pretty much more than one a game. Oh, and Jordy. So three of your 12 players average more than one offensive rebound. Like that's clearly not a point of emphasis for them. So like taking, more complex shots is like maybe let's not.
you would think with having the players surrounding her, she wouldn't have to take the shots that she did in the first place. Like with obviously before she had Stewie and Sue Bird, and like Sue Bird is probably the best point guard ever, or at least like greatest from a career accolade standpoint. And then Stewie is just Stewie. So like her being able to feast off of that and do what she has to do from around them, I'm sure made things a lot easier. But I would think having Skylar and Nuka would also make things easier in a different way. Like Skylar may not be the passer that Sue Bird is, but she's a very capable scorer and she passes pretty well. So like that should open up things from her. And then NECA is just NECA refuses to get worse at basketball. Like I don't know when she's gonna not play up to this standard. She's just continues to be her. So like I do think she does need to take less complex shots or more like catch and shoot. Not saying she needs to play like Klay Thompson, but it's like maybe if I pass you this ball, you just shoot it instead of dribbling and taking a step back or
like
something else.
I don't have the shot type numbers in front of me. I'd have to look that up. But in terms of like how she took them, but Jules took 5.3 above the break threes per game, and she shot 26%. So those are usually contested shots or shots that you're taking off balance, which she's good enough of a player to where you need her to mix those in, but I don't know if that can consistently be the shot diet.
So from what I'm looking at, I'm on Basketball Reference and looking at like the percentages of where she shot from, or the percentage of field goals by distance. So 0.093% of her shots were from 0 to 3 feet away from the basket. 0.193 was from 3 feet to 10 feet. 0.199 was from 10 feet to 16. 0.169 was from 16 to the 3 point line. And then 0.346 was from 3 point range. And as far as 2 point percentage, she shot 40%. from 2 point range. Like she shot 56% from uh 0 to 3 feet away, 35% from 3 feet to 10 feet, 35%, 30, yeah, 35% from 10 feet to 16, 43% from 16 to 3 point range, and then 0.275 from 3 point range. And
So she need
only,
to be curling to come
yes,
off to hit a midi is what the what
Mhm.
the
And
what the stats say.
yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. So it says here that 5.4 mid-range shots per game, and she was at 39.2%, which is not great. But again, a lot of those are off balance shots. So if there's some, I feel like there can be some correction there. She shot 57.5% in the restricted area and 32% in the paint, but outside of the restricted area. So it looks like I think the inside game can open up those catch and shoot opportunities for her and for the offense. I'm not really blaming it. I'm not really blaming it on Jewel by herself. It's not all player. It's not all coaching. It's not like it can. It's multiple things can be true.
Yeah.
So I think, and I think she's a good enough player to find that balance. I'm sure it was a big adjustment going from the roster that they had last year to this team where you're saying, all right, we need to be competing for a deep playoff run now.
Mm.
it's okay because next
Because I
year,
mean, yeah,
oh, go ahead.
because I was gonna say because you have to think going into next season, you have to think Noelle Quinn is probably coaching for her job. Because there were people saying that she might not have been safe at the end of this season, but it appears that Seattle is more interested in keeping her around if they haven't moved on at this point. So you have to feel like there's got to be a tweak somewhere. And it can't, I don't think it's a, oh, we just do this one thing and that'll fix it because it's not how basketball works. So, but I think, I think they'll figure it out. I think Noel Quinn's a good enough coach. Jewel is a good enough player. They got the talent on this roster to get it together.
It's crazy because I was gonna be coy and I was gonna say next year Nika Mule is gonna fix all their problems, but I forgot that she got hurt.
But she could be back. She'll be back.
Yeah, she'll probably miss the first part of the season if I had to guess.
Modern
I'm trying to
medicine
think of
is crazy, so
yeah,
she probably could. Because what did she tear her ACL?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they used to just put cold peas on that and call it a day. So I think now they could she you got football players coming from that like 4 months. I don't know how they be doing that. That's like some shit that's not.
Yeah, it can be as long as 9 months sometimes. So that would that would be most of the season.
That 4 month shit be crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't understand. But
Um,
it's not for me to understand.
but yeah, I think having someone who is like my only role here is to pass y'all the ball. I do think that will help. It's just a matter of how much she's grown per se. Um, Tearing an ACL is not fun, so I can only imagine what setback that may cause, or what the coaches may see, or how they feel like she's ready, whatever, whatever. I know we usually get into like what the team could add in free agency, which y'all are also, of course, more than welcome to say who y'all think they may need to add. But this is one of the teams
Um,
I feel like if they didn't add anyone, I wouldn't be mad because it's like I think they just need realistically, I just think they need another year together. Um, So I don't know. I don't really have any idea who I would want. Like, if you could get Gabby Williams back, that'd be nice. If not, I'm not really tripping. Um, yeah, I just
I
think they need
Well,
another year. It
I was
mainly.
I was kind of, I mean, to some extent, I agree with that. I mean, I was kind of joking about them like waving Dulcie, but kind of not because they got rid of Dulcie, and like last year they waved. Well, they parted ways with Ivana Dojkic like before the season ended. Um, and I feel like both of them are players that they could have used, right? Like I'm not. You didn't play Jordan Holmes, and I mean, you didn't play Nika. And not to say that we wanted Nika to be waived, but you had a competent guard who you knew could play well with Jewel. And that's kind of my other thing is like, if you know like right away that your team isn't meshing well, I don't understand why teams don't be like trying to go back to what worked. Like you saw you saw in games where Ivana and Jewel and Dulcie and Ezzy play well together, right? So like why wouldn't you keep trying that, right? And especially with the leap that Jordan Horston has taken, like I understand that you have superstars on your team, but I feel like mixing up the rotations could have did them really well. And I feel like they tried to use Victoria Vivian's as kind of like a spark, and her being in and out of the lineup, I think was weird. And maybe could have thrown off her game as well. Um, so I don't know. I think this is an they had an opportunity, and I mean they still have it to kind of play around with their lineups a little bit more and see what they can actually get and who actually works well together because if your big three aren't working well together, like that's not a good sign, but there are things that you can do because at the very least you've had NECA just carry a team the season before, and Jewel, I mean, she didn't do it well, but she also carried a team. So like that they can get their they know they can get their scoring out. I mean, like who she can work well with. So I feel like that's something I think if Noelle has like if I have any critiques of her, I think I would say like, what are we doing about your rotations to kind of get the best out of everybody? Because even to Sammy, like I feel like Sammy was a footnote in this season. Like I can't even really recall her actually like playing and being effective. Maybe like I didn't watch enough Seattle, but I just don't really remember her playing much. Like I was kind of shocked when I was like, oh, like they still got Sammy. She still plays. And I feel like that shouldn't be the case if she's been a mainstay in your team for at least the last 2 years. Like I get again, you got some new players and they're your big three and all of that, but like you need your role players to also be successful. So maybe run a play for them here or there.
yeah, I was gonna say um, the free agent that they have to sign is Nneka Ogwumike. Like it's just like because there's no guarantee she returns. She can't be cored, so that has to be that has to be the goal because she was the best player on the team this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
By a pretty good
and
margin.
right, and your identity for the foreseeable future because let's be honest, bringing in NECA and Skylar was not a future facing move. That was a we need to win a championship in the next 2 years
Yeah.
type move. So their offseason needs to pretty much be all about we got to get NECA back here. And
Yeah.
once she's back here, we need to find what what can be done to ensure that the way that the season ended does not happen again because getting swept in the first round is a big disappointment
It's nasty,
for this
actually.
team, right? Like it doesn't matter that you were playing against the Aces. Like this team was not built to be swept in the first round. I know that the playoffs are tough, matchups are tough, ball bounces a certain way. That's a disappointment for this iteration of this team.
Yeah.
So there has to be some balance found. And I think Jordan Horston plays a big part of that. And I know we haven't talked about expansion, one, because their expansion choices seem pretty straightforward. There are only 5 players on the roster. So you I'm assuming those are the 5, and then I guess you protect NECA so she can't just be drafted away. But
Yeah.
so that's what you do. You look to see if this is our core. Let's say Gabby doesn't come back. Let's say it's Jewel, Skylar, NECA, Ezzy, Jordan. Let's say that's your core. That's your starting 5. Because I do think Jordan projects to be the 5th starter with those 4. I think that she provides a lot in terms of being able to put the ball on the floor, pressure the rim. She can shoot. She can defend. Like the what you think that you need with that lineup, you already have in house. But how do you bolster that? Like, what moves do you make on the margin? Because you caught the big fish already. So, what moves do you make on the margins to make this a championship contending roster?
Do you change the hierarchy? I mean, I think again, I think it needs to be defined, but do you change it to say, Nika, this your team, Buki? Like, we're gonna start with you. Um, and also, do you think you talked about like Jewel playing off ball, um, in which I call the Kelsey Mitchell treatment because Kelsey Mitchell played off ball this year, and that's the greatest basketball we've ever seen her play. And I think Kelsey Mitchell and Jewel play in like a similar way. I think Jewel's a little flashier. Yeah. But I think they play in the same way. And I think like maybe giving her an opportunity to have the ball in her hands less, so she's making less decisions, could be really effective. But I think the problem with that is um obviously Skylar isn't a Caitlyn in terms of scoring production. So like maybe you consider running 2 point guards. And that's something you can play with. Or maybe there's a lineup where um when Skylar sits, you have Nika, or call Ivana, get Ivana on the phone. Hello. Or no, just getting a solid like actual PG to back up Skylar so that she doesn't have so much responsibility, and like yeah, she doesn't have to handle like so much of like she doesn't have to feel like the offense is kind of like on her, especially when like it's like we need somebody to shoot some threes. If Jewel's not going in, that mean I probably need to get some off, and mine not really going in either. So like we got to do something a little different. So I don't know. I think that might help them a bit too. Um, and honestly, I feel like you kind of at the point like I don't know. I feel like I say this all the time of like coaches really just need to be trying shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we saw early on that Seattle wasn't going to be that great, right? Like they just couldn't get right. And it's like, okay, well maybe let's try something different, you know? Let's throw somebody else out there. And I know some of it is like you want to win these games, etc. But it's like, if you're gonna end up a fifth seed anyway, why not? I mean, hell, maybe you want to fall to the sixth seed. I mean, try your odds against fucking Connecticut, you know, which I think they had a better record against, you know. So I don't know.
I think as long as wouldn't have played the Lynx, they would have been fine because the Lynx fucking smacked the shit out of them every game they played. I'm pretty sure. I
I
like being them got active every time they played.
which is crazy, but yeah.
What does what does Seattle look like with Dana or Monique?
You saying Dana
Two guard.
as the backup point guard?
Yeah, I mean as a backup point guard or a backup two, and like Monique is a backup four.
Low key, hold on. Just think about that. If you put Ezzy and Monique with Jordy, Dana, I don't know who the fifth person is, but I kind of like that. I'm kind of
Sammy
moved by
Whitson.
that. I'm kind of moved by that actually.
Sammy being that fifth is kind of
Sammy, I
Yeah,
like that actually. I like that. I like that.
that'd be fun. I mean, that's a lineup. That's a lineup you probably play for like 7 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But that's fun because then you probably have to like sub Ezzy out, bring NECA in to try to because you kind of want to stagger your bigs because I'm sure you don't want to have Jewel, Skylar, NECA, Ezzy on the floor the whole game.
Yeah.
So you kind of and I feel like another thing they'll do is there might be some. Let's say Dana's the backup PG when Skylar sits. How often does let's say Jewel if Jewel sits, do you bring Skylar back in and do you stagger them two the rest of the way?
I can see that.
I think you can get
I
away with
would
it.
yeah, I feel like for the most part, especially when it comes to playoff time, I think you would want at least one of them on the floor at all times. Um, so like let's say they're in the playoffs, I think you may go, of course, Skylar and Jules start, and then maybe Skylar's the first one comes out, and then you're running Dana, Dana and Jewel, and then it's Dana and Sammy, and then oh well, sorry, not Dana and Sammy. Then it's Dana and Skylar, and then
Skylar, yeah.
you might go Skylar and Sammy, and then maybe before the second half is over, I mean the first half is over, that's when you go back to Skylar and Jewel. Like just something of that nature to try to keep everyone fresh and also like utilize.
Yeah, I feel like those would be that could be an interesting some interesting additions. Of course, it's hard to see how it would work in practice, obviously. But like Jermaine said, sometimes you gotta try something. Like I don't see any downside to bringing in a guard that can handle the ball and do some, complementary ball handling. Because obviously most of the guard minutes are taken up.
Mhm.
So you just need somebody to come in and play a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, like you said, them getting better on the margins. And that's just one of the things I feel like, because like Dana has experience playing on a championship team and like playing behind some really good guards. So this won't be anything new. It really just depends on does she want to be a starting guard or not? Because if she does, then I mean that's cooked, of course. But um, yeah, I think they could help each other because I think she's used to that, and I feel like she would have a more defined role than she did with the Sky. Because I think the Sky were like I think the Sky were trying shit, and like I know Jermaine said it's good to try shit, but I think they were just trying shit like derogatory.
Their problem was that they won't trying shit until the end. They should have started trying shit in June. You can't start trying shit in August and think some shit gonna shake out right. And the end of August at that. Like,
Yeah, it
sister, you
was,
got 10 games left. Let's wrap it up. Um, I was thinking about like what honestly might help them is like a 3 and D player. Um,
Mhm.
and it's not a lot of like, there's not a lot to go around. But I'm kind of moved by the thought of Kennedy Burke because she's a great defender and you don't need her to like she can get some shots off for you, at least some threes off for you. Um, you don't need to play her a lot of minutes, especially if you stagger her and Victoria Vivians, because I feel like both of them are energy players in a way.
Mhm.
Um, I think that could work for them, especially if they're not focused on keeping Gabby. Yeah, especially if they're not focused on keeping Gabby. Which I don't think there's anything wrong with having Gabby. I think she's a good player. And maybe she looks differently if she starts the season with them. But I think just having somebody who is another energy player could help them a lot. I'm trying to think of who else they could get.
yeah, it's like everyone who I think could like really help them, I know is gonna like cost, and them niggas is broke. So,
Well, they
um,
will be once. They will be once. They bring Neka back because of that. Yeah.
the only other players I can maybe see is like it depends on how much Izzy's asking for. I could see like Izzy helping them in their front court rotation. Um, I could see. I mean, it just depends on if Atlanta's gonna let go of Area Powers. Um,
That's too much chaos. Mm-mm.
it's too much. Okay.
She got to
You
her,
you need a little
Jewel,
bit.
Jewel,
You need
and
a.
Skylar on the floor together. Are y'all crazy?
It might be too much. You do need some. You do
Poor
need
that
some.
poor Rim. Um,
That poor rim is crazy.
no shade to the girls, love y'all down, but that's insane. I don't know about that. Um, if Maya Caldwell could take a leap in this off season, a leap in the sense of like being more confident in her offense, it's a cute thought. I like it a little. I like it a bit. I'm vibing with it just a tad.
What I'm realizing is they really need options at the wing.
Yeah,
They need options at the wing, and then they probably need a backup big, like like one backup guard, one backup big, and then options on the wing that bring you something different. To say we're gonna put this combination out there because we want to accomplish XYZ. I feel like that's what it's gonna be.
I gotta get a visual. They had
Izzy, Dana, and Gabby were working.
you such a greedy player. Like you really need to learn how to like give and take. 'Cause
I'm a greedy
All,
GM because I feel like as a GM you're supposed to be greedy.
all he knows is cap circumvention and vibes.
yes, he said, we're gonna pay you under the table. Don't worry.
Well, they have the ninth. pick in the draft, would there be anyone that you would be interested in them bringing in? This ESPN mock draft has them bringing in Rory Harmon.
Who? Oh,
Rory Har
Rory.
Rory Harmon,
This other one, the Tankathon one, has Cheyenne
Diane
Sellers.
Sellers. Yeah,
Um, there's one for Janiah Barker.
What?
Uh,
How tall is Janaya?
it's funny because I was like, I don't know if Janiah Barker falls to 9, but with the draft, you never know because all it take is all it because after once you get past the first two, really, teams start looking and being like, does this really fit what we're trying to do?
Look, she's
So
starting off the year with some bad PR, so she really could fall on that.
I see Sonya Citron, and I see the one and only Haley Van Lith.
People,
Haley Van Lith at 9.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's extremely crazy. Sorry
Guess
for
what
that woman.
publication put that out?
Um,
Um, no thanks.
It was Bleacher
I won't
Report.
be. Oh, okay. They 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 hot and cold. I'll put it that way.
They have Seattle at 9 taking Haley Van Lith and Connecticut Sun at 10 taking Tahina Papa. I just
um,
couldn't imagine Haley Van Lith getting drafted for Tahina. Although I think I like Haley because of too many people hate her, but like realistically.
I don't dislike her. I don't
yeah,
dislike
I
her.
don't
I don't
dislike her
dislike her
either.
as a yeah, I don't dislike her as a player.
No, I just think she got a really bad, a bunch of bad PR with LSU, and
Yeah, she
yeah,
does.
a lot of it I felt
Well,
like got to a point where,
she was playing out of position at
yeah,
LSU.
I don't think it was
But
deserved.
yeah, but also I really think because you remember when we did the Aces episode and Yana was here, she talked about and when we talked to Misha about the Mystics, Tahina is a 5'9" guard, and teams are gonna have size concerns about her.
Yeah.
And Haley Van Lith is like 5'7". I
Yeah.
just feel like I just feel like it's even more so of an issue.
Yeah.
I mean that does kind of go for Rory Harmon too because Rory is 5'6", but she's does he project as a pure playmaker at the next level? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, I don't know if she's a junior, never mind. Because I was about to say to Mia Gardner, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. She a junior though, so hopes
Okay,
going
okay.
down. But next year, I see you, girlie. Um, I don't know. I like you said Rory, HVL. Who was and Janaya? You said somebody else too.
Sonia
Tahina,
Citron.
So,
I was telling you Citron.
so you could be a good choice for them. The other people, like those guards, I don't think would help them very much.
Mhm.
Not in the way that in terms of like getting a 3-and-D wing anyway. Um,
Yeah, I think a wing is what they need, but the answer could just be Jordan Horston, but I think they need to. I feel like they're going to need to have
A backup
depth
plan.
options. Yeah,
yeah. TVO. Depending on how because she's 5'11", I don't know. She's kind of small. Um,
I do like TVO as a player though.
and I mean, I think she's getting bad PR right now because you see, like she doesn't look good at UC at USC.
Yeah,
But I could vibe with it. I could vibe with it. Um, Emily Ryan would be solid just because she, like she can be a spot up
The shooter, yeah.
Yeah, and she can handle the ball. So I might actually like her. I don't know if she actually gets drafted because, Iowa State doesn't have a lot of PR, period. Um, they
Listen,
should.
if
They
they if
should, by the
they
way.
if they improve upon what they did in the tournament last year, I think she'll get a bunch of it because she was hooping that last game.
Yeah, she's a really good point guard, but I don't know. You never know. I mean, and she's 5'11", so we'll see. She could be a solid guard. I'm trying to think of who else. I'm trying to think of players who I know can like shoot. Um,
Hmm.
and it's really not a lot of players that can shoot the three ball very well. It's not a lot, unfortunately, especially that aren't small. Uh,
Yeah, shooting is funny because, and that's why I was saying that I think Tahina probably goes firmly in the top 10 despite her size, just
mhm,
because shooting is going to be so important,
mhm.
and it has been so important to the way that these teams are building out their rosters, and it's kind of hard to come by.
Yeah, yeah,
So I feel like there's going to be a team that's going to be like, we got to take the swing here
yeah.
because if she's a knockdown shooter, then we got a player that we can put around anybody.
Um, I don't know how AZ is like recovering, or even
Hmm.
if she comes out this year, but I think she could be a good option. Also, too, I'm really growing on Cheyenne. Like, I think she's starting to play really well and kind of playing behind Jordy. I think would be good for her. Um, she's. I mean, I already liked Cheyenne as a player, but I think she her playing with this new team in Maryland, I think will give her excellent PR. So she might be a good pickup for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sarah Puckett is getting drafted, um, but she can shoot.
Mhm.
They have a few, yeah, they have a few draft picks. I wonder what they're gonna do.
Let me see. They have,
They have like three, four.
yeah, because they do. They've got 9, 21, 29, and 34.
Then those need to be packaged. Anything after nine needs to be packaged.
But
Why?
see, here's the thing. I understand the idea of that. The idea of saying, okay, well, we'll take a first rounder and we got a second rounder and two-thirds. But for a team like Seattle specifically, who don't have the cap space to say it will just bring in XYZ role player.
Oh, you know what? Never mind. Let me shut my
I feel
black
like
ass up.
I feel
But
like
with this new
because
CBA, they might raise the. I mean, I know Kathy been fighting against it, but if they raise the rosters to 15,
Kathy broke as fuck, bro.
why would you say that lady broke up?
Kathy a broke ass nigga. She she
feel like I feel like you
she
have to.
pisses me off.
I feel like these teams, like you talked about not liking for Vegas to be making draft picks, but those type teams, them the ones that got to hit on your picks because at some point that becomes the way that you add talent because it's not because you're not looking to add a star player, you're looking to bolster what you already got.
Right.
It's funny because I
And
think
when you put in so much of your cap into your core, from there you have to do the small stuff.
And they cheap.
on the margins. Yeah, it's funny that you brought up Vegas because I think that was a thing that really was like one of the biggest things that was held against the other GM was like obviously you hit on Asia, Kelsey, and Jackie, because those are pretty
They were
obvious.
number one picks.
But
Yeah.
like the on the margin draft picks, a lot of them did not work in the slightest. Like I think Kate Martin is the best recent draft pick the Aces had, and even then, it's like she got burned in the beginning and then didn't in the end. And I think she'll end up being a pretty serviceable player as things continue on. But like if you're trying to hit on the margins, that can't be your best draft pick outside of number one.
What happened to Liz Kelly finna say today?
See, I keep saying that. I don't know.
We don't know. Now, when I spread my agendas, I'm gonna say that, yeah. But like if we're talking about realistically what has happened, I can't give her credit for that yet. Um, but maybe it'll be like how Danny Ainge drafted Peyton Pritchard with his last dying breath, and then she ends up being really good.
Turns out to be good.
Uh, so we'll see. But yeah, I just hope Seattle is serious next year because I would like them to compete. I want them to be better than they were because I think Skylar and NECA and Jewel and deserve it. Also, I would not want to see Noelle Quinn fired because her team is bullshit again. But because I think even if she gets fired, she'll get another job like ASAP. But yeah, her getting fired because they bullshit will make me sad.
Yeah, I think as far as like collection of players, they Seattle has like a lot of my favorite players to watch. So I would enjoy if they got it together. Preseason I had them third, and I was hoping that they would reach that level, even exceed that level. But it became clear that this this group had the talent to do that, but they weren't ready to do that.
I think I had them second, so I was even more disappointed than you.
I already say I think I had them second too. I was like, I'm really overshooting here.
I said Aces, Storm, Liberty.
Yeah, I had the Liberty
Nasty
at two.
work.
Yeah, I had the Liberty at two, but I root for this Seattle group. I think it's one of my favorite collections of talent. Like I loved Jordan Horston coming out of Tennessee, and um, so them adding her and then making the moves that they made in the offseason, I was excited for them, and I still am. It's just first season you kind of hit a snag a little bit, but you'll be okay.
I'm saying, I was standing them. They were my 2023 team with all the young talent.
My youngins out of Seattle.
They really were. I really can't believe they let go Dulcie. Like that really ruined me. That really ruined me. I can't lie. I was hurt by that one. I was hurt by that. She didn't deserve it.
And last year, you know what? Last year's team was fun.
They were
I mean,
so
they weren't good.
fun.
They
They
weren't
were
good. They
they
were
were
fun though, because
yes.
you had
Okay, on the days where they were good, they were good. Their bad days were bad though. But it was
No, they
fun.
got beat by 20, 30 points on a consistent basis.
Okay,
But
not
when
too
they was
much. Not too much. Not too much.
when they was hooping, dear Lord.
Not too
when
much
they
now.
because it was Jewel and Jordan and Dulcie and Ezzy,
I forgot they had Kia Nurse.
Ivana Jokic. That was
Sammy
it.
was
That was
going
a that was a
off.
fun team. That was a fun team.
It
Just
was
random players.
it was Jewel and the Supremes.
No, really. Ivana, like they kind of ate that. It was fun. It was fun. Let's hope they get three more roster spots in the CBA, a soft cap, and what else will help Seattle? I don't know what else will help them.
15 roster
R-
spots.
Roger, I'm gonna say that's priority number one.
I'm crossing my fingers and my
That feels like
toes.
that just feels so much like something that should have been done.
May the
Yeah.
Lord strike Kathy down if she don't do it.
I don't think she'd be in the negotiations.
Well, she need to use
She
that.
she doesn't.
She need to
She
pull
doesn't.
up. She need to pull up in that blazer and say, "This is what we about to do now." I need her to use her executive power.
She is not doing that. That lady was like, 12 is a good number. For who, Kathy? For who?
like 5 people on a roster get hurt every year.
Explain
Like
explain that
Literally.
explain 12 is a good number to the 2024 Dallas Wings. Explain that to them.
you got at least 2 teams be like using their hardship
Shit,
extensions.
or the LA
And
Sparks,
like
the
the fuck,
2023
they be using
one.
the fuck out their hardship extensions. Please just put it to 15. We wouldn't have to deal with this. But you see, she a broke ass nigga. So that's why she be acting like that.
Or maybe coaches will get more creative if they had 15 spaces, you know? And maybe,
I just don't see a downside. I
yeah,
don't.
They don't want to pay 3 more people.
low key though,
Yeah.
they get 3 more roster spots. They can get 4 more coaches per team, and they can look like the NBA and they can develop. It'll be good. It'll be good.
That's
Now,
true. That's
I'm
true.
warning you all, if they do get 3 more roster spots, my greediness will increase tenfold.
I was okay. Y'all ain't got no money anyway.
Right. Y'all got
The
bad
well
vibes
has
right now.
Mark Davis do.
run dry.
Mark Davis got money.
Y'all, the vibes are bad in Las Vegas.
I'm the devil on Mark Davis's shoulder telling him, please cheat again. He got
Mark been trying to tell the people he ain't cheat the first time, and you really ruining his thing.
because what they gonna do? Take the shit away? They ain't take the Houston Astros shit away.
Sorry to the men, I don't know them.
They did not.
The
They did
Houston
not.
Astros are like doing super like you're not supposed to do that shit in baseball. Like stealing people. They were like stealing signs and like using like trash cans to communicate what pitches people were being thrown. It was in-game cheating. Like it was OD. And
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. And they beat my team to win it that year, and I was like, that's kind of impressive though. Like if you like that took a lot of work. So I mean, hey, let them keep it. It's fine.
their whole defense was like, yeah, but I think other teams are doing this to us. So like
They probably were,
because
to be fair.
I think the year before that, the Yankees and the Red Sox got in trouble for stealing signs from each other, and so they were the league was like, yeah, y'all tripping. Actually, everyone's tripping.
That's extremely funny. Extremely funny.
Well, Jay, would you like to say the line?
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe all hearts and minds are clear.
Well, this has been another episode of Pull Up Three. I am Paragon Don,
I'm Jamae.
And I'm Jay Trent.
and we are out.